Good evening, and welcome to our State of the Church address tonight. Thank you for allowing us to come into your home. My name is Roger Patterson. This is our executive pastor, Kirby Follis, and we wanted to spend a few moments with you this evening covering some ground. Before we do, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Father, thank you for the chance to gather together virtually across this medium. I pray blessing on our conversation tonight as we just share some important information with our church family. I pray blessings upon them, upon their concerns, their interests, their family members, their businesses. Lord, I know many are looking for jobs. Many are concerned about their jobs or having to oversee major change in their companies. We just pray your hand upon them, blessing over them. And Lord, thank you for their faithfulness. We love you. Pray blessing on this conversation tonight in Jesus' name. As we begin tonight, I wanted to stop and say thanks to our guys on our technical team and our volunteers who are making so much happen virtually. Justin Kello, our media arts pastor, Justin Sessom, one of our technicians who's here tonight, Ryan Harden, our IT director, Jason Bergstrom, who's on our communications team, Aaron Sensman leading our Crosspoint worship and our Crosspoint band, Wes Matthew mixing. These guys do so much behind the scenes to make moments like this happen. So guys, thank y'all. Just wanted to thank you for being here, those that are, and for the work y'all have done for us. I'm titling this talk, The Jigsaw Puzzle Strategy of Leading Through the Pandemic. And on my 48th birthday, about just over a week ago, my wife ordered us a jigsaw puzzle of one of my favorite pictures. She gave us this picture. She gave me this picture for Christmas. It hangs in our bedroom. But jigsaw puzzles are a hot commodity right now.
Hard to get.
Hard to get. Y'all have done a couple of them during the Stay Home Work Safe initiative here in Houston. We chose colored ones. Yeah, well, smart. But Julie ordered this for my birthday. One of our favorite pictures. It's a 500-piece puzzle, and we had some fun with it. But what we quickly realized is that black and white jigsaw puzzles are actually pretty hard to put together. You have all of these gray tones. And we would say, hey, pass me that gray piece. Like really, seriously, which one, right? And so the jigsaw puzzle strategy for a situation like this, because you can't put the reds together, or the blues together, or the greens, or the yellows together, we adopted this strategy. Start with what you know. Now, it's a picture of our children, and so we could find pieces that look like their faces and all that kind of stuff. Start with what you know, then you set the edge, and then you fill in the rest. And that's sort of the journey we've been on here at the church. It's as if we've been working on a jigsaw puzzle that we really don't know what it looks like. We don't even have a point of reference for it, but we've been working diligently. On March the 11th, March 12th, our executive council made the decision to go online, to shutter the physical attendance at campuses. We moved everything to our YouTube channel. We began to navigate the wilderness journey, and our goal was real simple. We need to be high tech. At the same time, we need to be high touch. And in doing that, we wanted to provide relevant, life-giving discipleship in an unprecedented season while staying safe and staying connected. So what I wanted to do for just the next few moments, I want to turn it over to Kirby and ask him to kind of bring us up to date from when we shut down the campuses physically, went everything online, to kind of where we sit today. So Kirby, if you'll lead us in this next phase here.
That's good. That's that gathering of pieces we know. That's gathering what we could see and get busy doing, right? So we've put these in three buckets. I really want to talk about the things we've discovered about digital transformation, missional impact, and also our financial position, how we stand financially. So we'll dig into those. One of the most exciting things we've seen is this area of digital transformation. When we started this pandemic season, we really were sneaking up on 100 subscribers to our YouTube channel. We were trying to get to 100.
Right.
Out of this, we've moved well past that up to over 650 subscribers. So that's been amazing to watch unfold. With our staff daily devotionals, our online worship, those things. Also, we've taken all of our community groups to do Bible study and fellowship through Zoom, an online meeting format. There was some trepidation with that and some training and some groups worried about doing it. But the truth is, many of those groups are seeing as many or more people in that online format as they were seeing even on campus. So we're seeing some growth.
Yeah, and so
cool.
I think we ought to take a moment to thank our leadership teams, all of our community group leaders. Thank you for your leadership ongoing and the way you've embraced that technology and moved on over to that. Thank you so much for that.
It's a great word. It's been just a big win, and I think the groups look forward to that meeting time each and every week. But on the staff side of things, our kids stuff team, our student ministry team, our ACV, a Children's Village for weekday preschool, and then our ESL ministries, among others, have really been working hard to get relevant content out to families and students so that you have creative ways at home to pray with your kids, learn, keep growing their faith with the assistance of these staff and church folks on our team that want to lead you well in that, even in this downtime. One of the coolest things about that is we've taken ESL online.
Right.
Some of our former ESL students who are now back in their home nation are joining us online to continue learning English. And it's super good to see.
Continuing that relationship, so high tech, high touch.
Absolutely. So we keep doing that, but you know, the main thing we do every week is our online services, just like in this format. We premiere those two, really 4 services, two in English at 9:30 and 11, and then a Chinese service and a Spanish service.
Right.
And what we're finding is we're reaching people all over Houston, Cypress, Katy, League City, Sugar Land, really all around places you'd recognize. But we're seeing people come in from New York, Belize, all parts of Texas, really all over the place, North Carolina. And so not just having it now, but this talk of the idea of continuing, it's big.
Laura Goddard, the Goddards moved recently up to Canada, and she was tuned in this morning for worship. And so that's just so cool. The exponential nature of the reach, it blows the lid off of the kind of geographic aspect of things. And so one of the things we're going to be telling you about is we're going to maintain an online campus in the days ahead.
Absolutely. The second bucket we've certainly seen a lot of great activity in is our missional impact. So this is getting into your high touch because it's boots on the ground for us. A lot of its activity we've actually done right here in town, but out and about. So we challenged our staff to stay in touch with their ministries and their people and with our congregation, and our staff teams made over 3,000 phone calls to make that happen. Been some really great, sweet times of fellowship by phone. We've also developed a Senior Buddies program under the leadership of Chuck Oak, our senior adults pastor, where I think it's 60 individual or couples who are being supported through prayer and fellowship with other people from our church, which is a neat way to do ministry. We've hosted 2 blood drives. We've had about 160 blood donations. That's going to impact almost 500 people's lives.
Wow.
So that's a big physical Houston area touch.
That's great.
We've served the teachers and staff at Shern Elementary, which is where we mentor kids. We've blessed them with some gifts and encouragement. We've partnered with Casa El Buen Samaritano in distributing masks.
Right.
We're doing that. Now, we've got some dates. We've done that some with Casa. We're going to do it with Agape and Restoration
We did
Church.
it yesterday at Horeb, Casa's location, main base. We'll do it Friday night at Restoration Community Church from 4 to 6 p.m. And then at what will be City Rise, Missouri City, the Emmanuel Baptist Church in Missouri City. We'll do that Saturday from 4 to 6 p.m. So those opportunities we'll make available on our website or go to Casa's website, and you can find out more and volunteer for that if you're interested.
You bring up a great point. You know, if anyone wants to go to wubc.org or cpoint.org, there's a serve button, a big one. If you click it, you'll see all the ways you can join in to serve our city. On May 16th, we will be providing a food drive for the CCSC, which is the Christian Community Service Center.
Right.
We partner with them all the time, but this is a unique physical way to do that. And then we've just been meeting needs with some of our own, benevolence to the needs of our members. We've got folks who have lost work, lost hours, been furloughed, and that generates some real stress and anxiety. So,
talk to us about our financial position. What are we seeing? Kirby runs our business side of things as our executive pastor. He works with Leanna Fairbanks on a daily basis. She runs our business office. What are we seeing financially? What's going on in the life of the church?
We really have some good news. You know, we had a dip in Q1, which we expected as we went away from meeting at church and the uncertainty crept into not just our city, but our nation and our world.
Right.
We expected almost giving to go down and just asking God to continue to be faithful and us to trust. Well, what we've seen is the generosity of God's people.
Amen.
Even as of this week, we're actually in an excellent financial position because people continue to meet the challenge to give and go.
So thank you for that, because as you step into this, just thank you for your faithfulness in the wilderness. We talked about that last week. Just your faithfulness in the wilderness is huge right now, and it's enabling us to look forward and think about our next phases of things.
And we've taken some steps to protect our budget and things. You'll see in this same slide, we applied for and received CARES Act payroll protection program funding. We'll talk more about that. That's not actually demonstrated in our financial position, but it will be because it was received in April, not in the first quarter. But let me just tell you some high-level things we've done to help protect us. One, we foresee the need to possibly live in a 20 to 30% budget shortfall. The economy still has some question marks. People's businesses are coming back open and wondering where they'll be. So we want to be wise about that. We have frozen any hiring, so we have some either a few open spots that we wanted to chase this year. We're gonna pause that until we know more. We've asked our staff to just halt all non-essential spending, and I want to slap them on the back because they've worked hard to really pull back and not spend unnecessarily, which is great. It helps us meet this projected new budget level. And then every year, if and when we give raises, that happens on April 1, we just pulled back and didn't implement staff raises this year to, again, help protect our overall financial position.
Good. Talk about the CARES Act. This is a significant thing. The CARES Act came out from the Congress. It's a couple $1 trillion stimulus. There's a payroll protection program, and as a smaller organization with a certain number of employees, we could apply for a small business loan. This is the first time anything has been made available to not-for-profit organizations, especially religious organizations. And so talk about the process. We applied for that, actually received it, and we want to tell you more about that.
Yeah. So the celebration is we applied and we actually received $814,000 from that provision. It was a moving target, though. The Monday we realized we were going to be able to apply, we had until Friday to be ready. Leanna and her team jumped on that and just embraced it with diligence. And the marker kept moving. Every day there were new guidelines. The application form changed almost daily. And even on Friday when applications opened up, it changed again. So they had to redo that.
And I know you and she and myself, we were on many webinars hosted by church consulting groups helping us navigate those and learning a lot and what steps we have to take.
That's exactly right. So it took us about a week to get the funding. Certainly had some concerns and questions in those webinars were helping inform us. But the other thing we were doing in the background is because it essentially is a loan from the Small Business Administration, we needed to be very vigilant about our process because it essentially is like taking on debt. Now, the good news is this loan is 100% forgivable if you meet certain criteria, and we have no reason to believe right now we don't meet that criteria. So we believe this will be 100% forgiven. But what our bylaws don't provide for is they don't provide for an emergency vote of the church when you can't meet. We can't have a drive-by vote or a digital vote. And so we gathered with our executive council, our personnel committee, our finance committee, and then even built consensus later with our deacons to affirm that we wanted to take this action in the best interest of the church. Get the funding, because we had already heard the funding was going to run out. They believed in 1 to 5 business days. So it was critical to get the application made. So we've taken the action, and one of the things we'll say to our church family is when you come back, church, when we can meet again regularly, we will put this to a vote for you to ask you to affirm the actions we've taken.
One other thing I want to say was, one of my concerns was in receiving resources from the government, will there be any infringement upon religious liberty? Because that's been a historic hallmark in the life of Baptists for the ages since we've been around. But beyond that, it wasn't just Baptists who were thinking about this. This is all churches going, hey, is there any consequence to religious liberty? Might that be? And we were assured through legal counsel and webinars and many consulting groups and just things we looked at that there would be no infringement upon our religious liberty and our convictions as a people in doing this. The government slammed the doors of everything shut, and so they were providing stimulus so that you don't lay off people, and by the grace of God, we've not had to do that and receive that funding. So as you mentioned, we wrestled with, we don't have a process in place. Our bylaws, even though they were updated 7 years ago, didn't foresee a moment when we couldn't meet congregationally. We've only only other one time not been able to meet, and that was the Sunday Hurricane Harvey came through. Other than that, we've been open every Sunday, right? And so our mechanisms didn't envision this and or allow us a pathway if we can't meet. Yeah. So the council was, let's take action based on what's in the best interest of the church, and when we come back together, we will have that conversation and vote. But we want you to be aware of that. We just want to lead transparently in this time. Frankly, that's what this evening is all about, just to bring you along with the many things we've learned, but also where we're headed.
What we hope it'll do too, Roger, is we hope it means we can project a lesser shortfall, more toward the 20% instead of 30%. But in those early days of that dip in giving, we also wanted some time to interpret raw data, which this 8-week extension basically gives us.
Yeah, we're thankful for it. Let me give you a few reminders before we move on, because now I want to shift to let's look ahead at what's coming. But a few reminders before we move ahead. Number one, we were quick to close. I just want you to know, as I began to talk to you about reopening, we are going to be prudent in reopening. Number two, we will remain high tech and high touch. I think one of the things that uniquely makes us who we are is our relational component as a family of God here in the heart of the city. But we're also going to be excellent at being high tech. These guys that I thanked early on, they've done a great job getting us to where we are. We will continue an online campus because of the way it's helping us reach. And we can even envision small groups in different places, in homes, as people pipe the messages of the service in and then gather together, whether that be in Canada, North Carolina, other parts of Texas, or other parts of the city beyond our geographic reach. So we're going to stay high tech, high touch. But also we're here for you. We want you to know we're here for you. It's so important that even though we can't gather yet in the room, we're here. So text the word connect to 797979. Send us a note, fill out that form, and if you have a prayer need or concern, you can do that at any time, and we want to respond. Our pastor on call, we have a pastor on call. You can call the switchboard, and they'll give you a pastor on call number. All of those things, we're here for you. And so we want to remind you about that. So let's talk about what's next, because I think this is important. Let me go back to that jigsaw puzzle strategy of leading through a pandemic. Start with what you know. Set the edge, and the rest will fill itself in. And so that's the process that we have been walking through and will continue to walk through. Returning to church is a puzzle because of the real challenges before us. Namely, we've never led through a pandemic like this. We've never had that challenge. Number two, we're concerned about returning prematurely. We don't want to put others in peril. We don't want to have to stop meeting again. We don't want to open one day and turn around the next day and have to close. And so we want to be prudent about this. So we have 3 values that are going to guide our return to church. Why don't you cover that for us?
Yeah, I think we needed a grid to put this through so that as the unknown becomes more clear, we could go ahead and embrace 3 values. We said those are being flexible, being adaptable, and being safe. And we've used those in some recent meetings to kind of put that matrix over what we feel called to do and how we can do it best. So the plans won't be set in stone. We're going to give some targets and how we think we'll operate, but even between now and the time we come back together, we could learn a lot. So we feel like that could shift. So we want to flex. We also want to adapt. So continually listening and learning. You mentioned webinars, and I know you're going to tell us more about a pastor's group you've been featuring, been leading out on rather, but the goal is to learn from them too and adapt. And then safe. We're going to double every effort we can to provide a safe, life-giving environment for every member and guest. And that's going to take some real doing in a time like this.
So what I want to do is I want to frame up for you a goal. I'm going to put it in one sentence, if at all possible. Our goal in returning to church is to restore opportunities to worship corporately on campus at a pace that allows adherence to the latest safety guidelines while continuously navigating the challenges the coronavirus presents our community. So we're looking to restore on-campus corporate worship. We will maintain online corporate worship, but we want to do it in a pace and a way that allows for us to cautiously navigate these days that we're in. So to do that, we're putting together a process. What I want to share with you for the rest of our time together, and it won't be long, is a process by which we're making decisions and then communicating that out, and then the plan. The what, the when, the how. You see, we got to have a good process that's easy to communicate, as well as a simple plan that we can execute with staff and volunteers. Because when you come back, it's going to be a bit different. The schedules will be different based on the percentages we can have in the room. The how to, the number of volunteers, the way our volunteers will have to help people. So we've got to have some time. We've got to get them trained. So we need to have a good process and a simple plan. So the process includes the pathway of decision making that I'm about to cover with you, then our communication of those things out, as well as the when. The plan then is the when, the what, and the how. So let's talk about the process, because here's going to be the flow of decision making. It's going to start with staff, down to executive council, to a COVID-19 team, to legal medical counsel, to back to the executive council, back to the staff, out to the church body. Let me unpack that for just a moment as you see that graphic on the screen. Governor Abbott came out on Monday, the 27th, saying, hey, here's our Open Texas initiative that will begin May 1st. And so on Monday, the 27th, we got our executive staff together. We watched that news briefing by Governor Abbott, and then we began to formulate our own reopening plan. We then gathered our COVID-19 team. This is a task force we had put together right before we shuttered the campuses. And tell us a little bit about that team. And you know, they're helping us with the how, the execution of it.
So maybe you said it. We met with Executive Council on Wednesday night.
Oh yeah,
on April 29th, right? And they're at the chief of our governance of our body. We meet with them so that was Wednesday night, the 29th. This COVID-19 team is a small team of folks from various backgrounds: medical, emergency response, folks who are good with analytics and process. And man, we've already gained a lot from interacting with this group of folks. So we met with them on Friday morning to talk about Governor Abbott's plan, to talk about what the staff and executive council had talked through. They're already helping us with the formation of a survey to go out maybe this week, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But it's good to be able to put these early ideas into them and hear them back, because they go to church here, but they also have a mind for the process of how it might be received by church members, but how it might look from their perspective, professional background.
That's been great. So beyond them, once we work with them on the how to return to campus aspect of the plan, we'll then push it out, one to legal, the next to medical. We have legal counsel that we use regularly, some attorneys in the Dallas area who are specialized in not-for-profit church law. But also, beyond going to them, we've reached out to Jeff Shadwick in our church. Jeff is a member at our Westview campus, former judge of civil and criminal court. Used to be on the HISD school board, so has been involved in public policy and these kind of things. He's just a well-rounded leader in the legal affairs. And so I just said, hey, Jeff, would you help us ultimately help make sure we're adhering to things well and we have good process? And he'll sign off on that or tweak it, push us, and then we'll take it back, bring it back to him, that kind of thing. But he'll help us in our process there. But then we've also reached out to Dr. Steve Spann and ask him to provide the same sort of oversight for us medically. Once we get our how-to plan, Dr. Spann, help us understand, is this the right thing? Now, Dr. Spann is the founding dean of the new medical school at the University of Houston. And he actually told me on the phone the other day, he says, I'm actually doing a similar role for the university as they plan to come back to school. And I said, well, we're small potatoes compared to that. And so Dr. Spann's going to be helping us with some of that oversight. And frankly, I've already engaged him on 2 or 3 items. I have, and the COVID-19 team has already, and it's already helped us tremendously.
A lot of how he's leading is scalable to what we're doing. Because it's multiple buildings, multiple sizes of groups.
So the legal, medical, then we go back to exec council. Hey, here's the team. Here's the plan. Here's how we're going to get it done. Then out to staff, then out to the church body. And so I just want you to know, it's not just a couple of guys up here like the guys at the Muppets overseeing going, no, we're not just making this up as we go.
We're not as grumpy as them either.
We're not as grumpy as them, but we have a good, diligent plan in place and really good leaders at the table helping us. So know that. Also, then the communication piece of that, right? One, here, we're doing the State of the Church address tonight. Secondly, we're going to be sending out a survey. Our goal is to get it out by end of day tomorrow. We're tweaking a few questions right now, and we'll get a survey out. Talk to us briefly about that.
Yeah, so that's going to come in the form of an email invitation. It'll be a link to follow. It's a Google Forms type survey. It's very simple to use. And really the goal is to keep it below about 3 to 4 minutes of response. So when we ask you to do that, we're not asking you to set aside half an hour. We're asking you to go in and simply respond. It's going to help inform us where you are in your journey with this pandemic,
right.
And how you might reflect on some of the steps we're wanting to take as well. So thank you in advance for spending just 5 minutes or less getting us your answers quickly so we can use them.
And then the communication strategy of announcing the when, the what, and the how, and then we'll have to keep announcing that. So let me move now to the plan. We just have a few minutes left, but the when to return. Our target date to return in on-campus corporate worship is May the 31st. May 31 of 2020. This is 30 days after Governor Abbott's Open Texas initiative. It's 3 full weeks after early subscribers, and I'll tell you what I mean by that, but I'm in a group of, I facilitate a group of other church pastors conversing about this weekly, and it's 3 weeks after early subscribers. It gives us time for more data of what's happening in the county, what's happening in the city, and it's also conservative. What I mean by that is it's not ultra conservative on one end of the spectrum, and it's not too aggressive. I think it meets more to the middle, more to the right here. We in other words, we got on the phone with our exec council or Zoom call on Wednesday night, and some were saying, "Hey, why don't we go here?" And it was earlier than this timeline. Others were saying, "Hey, maybe you ought to think about here." And others are like, "Hey, that date is great." Here's also what I know. Giving you this date, some of y'all just went like, "Oh, we're going to have to wait that long?"
Right. That's not the date I would have chosen.
"Oh, we should do this earlier." Others of you are like, "Man, that's way too early.
Yeah.
I can't believe it." And others are like, "Yeah, that's cool. We get it." So here's the thing. I don't know that there's a win on this, right? Maybe you're in one of 3 groups and 2 of those 3 aren't happy. I don't know, but we're doing our best to be prudent and diligent.
What we do know is we don't want to open up to immediately have to close again.
Amen.
So going early puts us in a spot to maybe say go and hit the gas and then have to hit the brake. And 2, we've also said we know Governor Abbott's going to speak again on May 18th.
Right.
And this gives us a couple of weeks to react to how Texas is doing as a whole.
Right. And
we want to be prudent about that.
And it's also adaptable. In other words, if we need to move it to further into June, we can do that. But right now, that's our target. And again, that's why it has the graphic of a target. That's what we're aiming for. Let me talk to you about this group of other leaders that I'm engaging with and facilitating. It started off with a handful of us, First Baptist, Greg Mott, Dwayne Brooks at Tallowood, Steve Wells at South Main Baptist, Taylor Sandlin at Sugar Land Baptist, Josh Ellis, our executive director at Union Baptist Association, Russell Cravens at Neartown Church. A handful of us just started meeting and talking on a weekly basis, checking on each other. How you doing? What do you need? What are you learning? And that's been sweet. But then it grew. We invited, some other guys invited some things. And so I'm facilitating a call with 15 to 16 churches across our city.
Great.
Sagemont, Champion Forest, Kingsland, First Houston, Second Baptist, Champion Forest, New Day Church,
Woodridge.
used to be White Oak, Woodridge Church. I mean, just a lot of great leaders, a lot of great pastors, Sugar Creek Baptist, Mark Hartman, and these other guys I mentioned. we're learning from each other. We're growing together. We're praying with each other. I see God doing something for beyond this through this group. But what's really cool is I can give you the timeline of other churches. I'm not going to tell you which church is doing what, but we have 2 of them that are early subscribers. They're jumping in May 10th. Here we go. Another church, May 17th. No church is returning on the 24th. That's Memorial Day weekend, so nobody's going back to church on that holiday weekend as a starting point. 5 churches. We would be the 6th, would be returning on May 31st, and then 7 churches are going on June the 7th. And so that just gives you an idea of the spectrum of just the small group of churches that I'm communicating with on a weekly basis and kind of where they are. Let's talk about the what to return. Talk a little bit about this for us, Kirby. The what are we returning to?
I think we want to be in 2 categories. We want to be both organized and organic. Those are 2 terms we're drawing toward as we plan. And so when we come back, we're really going to come back to one primary focus when we talk about May 31, and that is an on-campus corporate worship experience. And just so you know, we're still wrestling with this, but it means likely offering more services than we normally offer so that we can use the appropriate social distancing and guidelines the state has given us. We'll give you more on that in the days to come. But when we come back, we want to do that. We're not going to jump right in and offer childcare or kid rally or student ministry. We're just going to come focus. This is a family style of worship where we will be gathering in one room at various times to meet. And then we want to be organic too. We think when we get to our start date, we want to be able to encourage you as community groups, as small groups, as other ministries that are smaller in nature, to begin to come together in organic ways. You know, if you feel comfortable gathering in a home for a watch party or for a Bible study, or you want to meet out at a park and begin to, as the state opens up and as we begin to have less of the unknown and more clarity, I think our confidence will grow to do that. We said earlier, you know, we want to do that for June, but do we know right now if it's June and July, or do we know? Yeah. We really don't. We just want to keep getting informed and get a starting point laid out.
And so that's June and July, June at least, probably June and July. Corporate worship only. Mm-hmm. Schedule will look different. And there will be more of the how to do it here in just a second. But again, we will adapt our plan as we move forward and as the unknown diminishes. And we want to open up children's ministry as quickly as we can and student ministry as quickly as we can. What's interesting in that group I'm on, none of us has the answer to the student ministry question. When do we do children in their children's programming and the like? And so again, as we're going with what we know, we're setting the edge, and then we'll start to fill that stuff in. But we'll open those aspects of our ministry as soon as we can. All right? Let's talk about the how to return. We have just another minute or two. These are logistical things. Mm-hmm. Frankly, the COVID-19 group, Jeff Shadwick as well as Dr. Spann, they're going to be signing off on these things, taking it to Executive Council. They're going to be signing off. Then we'll go to staff and out to the church. Yeah. But here are some of the big rocks of the how. Our attendance and capacity will be based on guidelines. So if we were to come back today, it would be at 25% capacity, similar to what restaurants are doing and the like. If we wait, we assume on the 18th, if things are getting better, the governor already said it may be 50% capacity. So we believe that we could function at the end of May at a 50% capacity guideline. So our schedule will look different, the number of people will look different, and then the number of staff to pull it off and volunteers will be different. We'll have social distancing measures in place. If you're 65 or older and or are immune compromised, you are encouraged to continue our online worship versus coming on campus. We're not going to police anybody or say, can you give me your driver's license? I want to card you for anything. Right. We're not doing that. You're encouraged, right? But we want to make sure you're aware of that. We will have good signage, good communication, both in advance, in your email, in person. One of the reasons, if you're going to be coming back on campus, that I feel like you need to go to text the word connect to 797979 You need to give us your information so that we can communicate with you. We at least need your email address because we're going to be sending information out to you. The survey tomorrow. Hey, here are the guidelines. We're going to be getting that out to you in advance. So if you've never given us your email address, but you're coming to church here, we really need you to go and do that because we want to communicate effectively with you. And then families are going to be asked to sit together. Also, as you return, we're going to ask people to wear masks. We won't have food or coffee service of any sort in the near term. We will be cleaning our facility between our services, doing everything we can to make it as safe an environment as possible. We would receive the offering at the doors. We would continue to encourage online giving, or we'll have an offering station, something like that. And then we have other measures that will be under consideration. We will be training volunteers and staff the 2 Wednesdays prior, the 20th of May and the 27th of May as well. Those who serve on hospitality and other leaders that we're going to be pulling in. Again, right now we're determining all of that information. How much do we need? And we'll then go to a training time because when you come, 1, it'll look different, and 2, I think it's going to meet your needs, and 3, we're all going to be excited to meet together again. But we're going to have a lot of people helping people navigate the buildings so that we can be as safe as possible and not put people in peril and the like. So that's our plan. Anything you would want to add before we close?
No, it's so good. I would just say, our people, our congregation have been so responsive, and the staff have just jumped to serve as well. And so one of the blessings of this whole thing, if you can say that, right, one of the things we've seen increase is just the unity of the people of God coming together and shining as a light in our community. Look, we choose how to respond. We don't get to choose what comes our way, but we choose how to respond to that. And I'm thankful to the Lord for our response and that He would use it to glorify His name.
When we come back, or next weekend, I'm going to be wrapping up our wilderness series. And then the following 3 weeks, we're going to do a series on right relationships. This is the teaching I did 10 years ago. Right or right, which one are you? It's out of Philemon and Colossians, and I hope you'll be excited about that because I do think we all need some relational tune-ups right now after the extended time at home. Remember, it's a jigsaw puzzle. We are starting with what we know. We're setting the edge and we're filling the pieces in as we can and as we go. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your concern. Thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your interest. Thank you for every contribution that's been made. We can't thank you enough. We feel supported, and it's not an easy thing just to slam the brakes and flip everything to online, and it's not going to be an easy thing to get everything back up and running, but by the grace of God, with the Spirit of God, with the power of God, and the people of God, the best is yet to be. And so I want you to stay expectant. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We love you. Can't wait to be with you again. The Lord bless you and keep you, make His face to shine upon you, and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift His countenance upon you and give you peace. God bless you.
Good night.